Welcome to Boston. Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. Raptors getting set to take on the Boston Celtics tonight, Sherm, and a lot at stake for the Raptors. When you think about it, they can clinch a playoff spot with a win or a loss by the Detroit Pistons and the Chicago Bulls. And then a 49th win would tie a franchise high for wins in a season. And there's still a lot to go on the meter when you think about the Raptors and the remaining games. So a big night tonight for Toronto.
Well, it is a big night. And you think about the fact that this franchise every year has gotten better over the last few seasons in terms of wins. It's an impressive streak. And to think about where they've come from under Dwayne Casey, you see the growth, you see the development, you see the process resulting in wins and more competitive teams. So you got to be impressed with it, and Dwayne Casey and this squad should be happy with what they've accomplished, but they're not going to be because the season isn't done, and as we know, the playoffs are going to dictate a lot.
Well, Sherm, look, we've seen Dwayne Casey kind of rest guys what looks like on the spur of the moment. Game time, all of a sudden we find out DeMar's not playing, we find out Kyle's not playing, Scola sits, Corey Joseph rested last week. We might see more of that, or I guess my question is, how much more of that might we see, knowing that you're pretty entrenched in either 1 or 2 seed. You might fall to 3, but that would be a little bit improbable. So you're resting guys for the long term, and you are getting some guys back. JV expected to play tonight. Patterson still a game time decision, but you're bringing guys back, you're resting guys, you're looking ahead. There's a lot of balls in the air there.
Well, there are, and I think ultimately Dwayne Casey is a coach that understands that if you're going to be good in the playoffs, you have to be healthy, number one. So he's going to give guys the kind of rest that they're going to need in order to be successful. Having said that, the competitive nature of athletes and coaches are to win games. So it's a tough balance, but I do think, you know, especially when they eclipse the 50-win mark, they can look at things a bit differently in terms of how they rest guys. But ultimately, if they're going to make noise in the playoffs, they need a healthy roster, and that comes with resting guys. And I think they're doing a good job of rotating the rest cycle and making sure different guys get breaks at different points of the season. And now you kind of try and collect it and save as much energy as you can while maintaining rhythm and competitive balance.
Sure, that's so important to maintain the rhythm, because you have to be playing well going into the playoffs. 50, 52, 53 wins doesn't mean anything if you've lost 4 or 5 in a row going in. And this Celtics team is a team that is tough. I mean, you look at it. They don't have a lot of stars. We saw them last week in Toronto. They play consistently hard. They're one of the teams I think plays the hardest night in and night out without any stars. Raptors are 3-0 against them this year, but it hasn't been easy, and to get a sweep on this floor against Boston tonight is going to be a difficult task.
Well, it is, and I think the Raptors, they're very aware of that. And you talk about the Celtics, Brad Stevens has this group playing extremely hard on a consistent basis, and he's instilled that into young players, and that's why they're so competitive, and they can overcome some of their youthful mistakes. And I just think you look at the last matchup against the Celtics just last week, the Raptors had to get after it in the fourth quarter and win that game. You want more balance, but that's what Boston does to you. They're missing a key component in Jay Crowder. No excuses. Their backcourt is so tough defensively. They put a lot of pressure on you, and they force you to stay in the game all 48 minutes. So it's going to be a challenge, and I think for the Raptors, sometimes you need those sparks. You're playing against a team that, if you look at the roster, you're going to say from a talent perspective, there are better rosters in this league, but the great equalizer is how hard they play, and to me, that's a good test for the Raptors.
Well, the Raptors #1 in the NBA in games that are plus or minus 5 points with 5 minutes or less to go. More wins than any other team. Will that be the case tonight? You'll have to tune in and see. You can see the game on TSN and hear it with Sherman and I on the radio side at TSN 1050 at 7:30.